All right, continuing on here, now that we've got all of our diameters turned, we need to go and put a hole through this part. So this is step 8 of your instructions there. So to put a hole through the part, we're going to use the tailstock here. Again, if you ever need to take this chuck out, you just back this off and you can transition from the live center to the chuck, but we do need the chuck right now, so make sure that taper is clean. Bring that out and snap that guy in. All right, so this here may be locked, which it was. This can slide forward like so, or slide back just manually. We get it positioned where you want, then you just lock it down, and then we use the tail of this, and that's what will draw out your tool. So for starters, we are gonna go, whenever you drill a hole, you want to always use a center drill like this to create a nice guided pocket for your drill to follow. If you don't do this, you will see that your drilled hole will become tremendously larger than it's supposed to be because the drill will waller against the end of it and open up the end of that hole. If you put this nice center drill in there, it will create a beautiful pocket and it'll guide the drill and it'll keep it all true on size. Just like when we center drilled on the radial arm drill press project, we want to go through the pilot of that, and then about halfway through this angled portion is where we want to go, and that's all the depth we want to do with this. So slide this forward, and again, you can run into your carriage here, so if you need to move your carriage forward, you can. And then make sure your cross slide and your tools are out so you're back out of the way and you have plenty of clearance. And from here, we're just going to lock this tailstock down so that it doesn't move back while we're drilling. RPM for this here, it's calling out 1,000 RPM, so we can go to 937. To get to 937, all we have to do is flip it from silver to blue, and that's going to take us where we need to be. If it doesn't fall into gear, rotate by hand on the chuck a little bit, and boom, it'll drop in. Cooking quite a bit faster. Use a little bit of coolant, and come up here, and again, I'm just turning that handle. Oh my goodness. Well, that was cute. So that was how you break a center drill. All right, so beautiful thing about a center drill is they come with 2 sides. So I shouldn't have been looking the other direction while I was coming in. So again, that one just broke off. So now we're gonna go to this side. Let's try that again. All right, so up. And it just barely caught. If I was drilling halfway through there right now, I wouldn't be able to just do this because I'm gonna end up drilling into the end of the drill bit, but I just tapped it and I hit it too hard and it snapped the tip off. So it just broke off and I should be fine by drilling right now. Let's try that again, slower this time. So a little coolant. And there we go. So I just take that pilot and I'm just driving that in a little bit through that point and about halfway into that angle. And right about there looks good. I'm gonna back it off, and that's what you should see. Slide this back, take out, actually, we're gonna take out all of this. So I'm just gonna pop out this whole tool. And we're gonna use a taper shank drill. I have a 1/2 inch taper shank drill here. So the beauty with this is that it's that taper shank. It's gonna fit right in there, except for it doesn't fit. We need an adapter. On a good day, we'll have one sitting right here, which there is. So clean it out, make sure everything sits in there nicely. That will seat into this, and this will seat into here. And there we go. That's a very nice rigid drill setup for good drilling performance. Slide this forward a little bit. So the one thing when you're drilling with something like this here, just like we did before, is we need to peck drill this. Now we're drilling all the way through this, so we need to peck drill regularly. And we're gonna back off and get coolant on the tip. The tip is where all of the friction happens at, so we need to keep that tip cool. I'm not so worried about anything else, just that tip. And probably every, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, you're gonna wanna back this off. We're drilling all the way through this part, so we need to make sure that you have a good bottle of coolant here because you're gonna need a coolant regularly as you're packing it. So I drill, back off, and just peck your way slowly all the way through. You see the chips packing out the flute of the drill. You need to kind of clean those off of there. You may need to get yourself a brush here just to kind of keep that all clean. Again, never stick your hands in there while it's rotating. Clean all the chips off. Coolant, you can see it smoke a little bit there. It's just a little bit of that heat on the tip. That's the hottest point, so we're just going to keep that as cool as we can. And you'll be able to feel when it starts binding up a little bit there from the chips, that when to peck it out again and kind of clean itself, cool it off. Back in, you can even see it boiling on there a little bit. So I'm probably half to about 3/4 of the way through this right now. All the chips off, cool it off. Do a little more this time, it seems like pretty hot. And that coolant, really the big point of that is to make sure the material doesn't, it cools the cutting tool off, but it also lubricates the end of the tool, so the material will not stick to the end of your tool. If the material starts sticking to your cutting tool, it'll start basically cutting really poor and give you a really bad surface finish. Pretty good heat on there. And again, I'm just cranking here. Nicely. One thing you have to pay attention to here is you always have to make sure your drill is longer than your part. If I was to bury all these flutes inside of that part, there's no way the chips can evacuate, and you're going to end up smoking your drill because you're going to get so much friction inside of there. There's nowhere for the chips to go, and it's all going to plug up, and that's going to create way too much friction and destroy things. We're going to get close to the end of it, but we will have just enough to squeeze those chips out of there. And I think we're getting pretty close here. Oh, there it was right there. Okay, I just made it all the way through, and I can tell because it just frees up here. Now we can just give that a spin back. And we have a hole in our part. Good to go. Pull this all back. And now we have just completed step 9. Continuing on here. Next thing we're going to do is do the groove on this one side. So, to do that, I'm going to pull this drill out just so it's not banging up against my elbow. All right. We're going to go now, and we are going to use